Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3, back once again, first time this year to give you all your news with the 3 count with SP3. This is for January 14th, January 15th, whatever day you're watching it, 2020. My first 3 count with SP3 for 2020. I hope everyone is having a great start to the new year. I hope everyone has been enjoying all the fantastic wrestling we have gotten in these first 2 weeks of 2020, whether that was 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom at the Tokyo Dome, whether that was New Year's Dash setting up a whole bunch of great matchups for the new beginning tour in the US as well as Japan, whether you're a huge NXT UK fan and you enjoyed that TakeOver Blackpool 2 show this past weekend, or you're a huge Impact Wrestling fan and a Tessa Blanchard fan. I don't know how many of them are still left out there. We'll get into that. And you enjoyed Impact Hard to Kill. I hope you all have been enjoying this great start to 2020 in professional wrestling. So I am here to give you all the news you've been missing out on. I missed out on a lot of news to cover. We covered a bit of it on Tru Heel Heat 59 this past week, our first podcast of 2020. And I am here to announce that we'll be back with Tru Heel Heat 61 because Tru Heel Heat 60 took place at Love Story before our Impact Hard to Kill viewing party with Miss Chrissy Love as well as Jenna Bebe from the Mixed Tag Show. So Tru Heel Heat 61 will be back in 2 weeks' time. Thursday, January 23rd, that's the Thursday before Royal Rumble weekend. We'll be back with Tru Heel Heat 61 to give you the whole lineup for WWE Worlds Collide, where NXT versus NXT UK, as well as the WWE Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble, the Men's Royal Rumble. We'll be breaking down all of that, previewing those shows, as well as giving you all your news and hot topics on Tru Heel Heat 61 in 2 weeks' time. But I am back to give you your news. So on this 3 count with SP3, we're going to be talking about the big major news going around the wrestling world, and that has to do with the hottest free agent in professional wrestling that has been signed, the villain, Marty Scurll, and where he's going and the details to the deal of where he's going to. We're going to be talking about Impact Wrestling, just coming off of Hard to Kill this past weekend. They've already made the announcement for their next pay-per-view, and we'll give you the details that we have so far about that. And then finally, yes, we will address the elephant in the room and give you all the information you need about the Tessa Blanchard controversy that kicked off this past weekend before she became the first woman to become the Impact World Heavyweight Champion. So before I get into the news for today, for January 14th, January 15th, 2020, I have to say, rest in peace, a special RIP, and my thoughts and condolences to the families of both La Parka and Kendo Nakasaki, a Mexican legend and a Japanese legend. Both passed away to start off 2020. So I want to send my thoughts, my condolences, and my prayers to their families and all their fans. I hope everyone is taking their loss, well. But, it's rather unfortunate we have to start off 2020 with that type of news. So let's get into the nitty gritty and the real news. So first up on our first count, we got to talk about the villain Marty Scurll. The villain Marty Scurll has been all over the headlines, especially in 2019. He was considered the hottest free agent going into the new year for 2020. So a lot of people had him pegged to go to All Elite Wrestling. Others had him pegged to go to WWE and work in NXT. But it seems that he is sticking at home. The villain Marty Scurll has officially re-signed with Ring of Honor. This follows Ring of Honor re-signing Dragon Lee, the ROH World Television Champion, as well as a new ROH six-man champion, as one half or one third of the six-man tag team champions, Bandito. Both superstars re-signed with Ring of Honor to start 2020. And adding to that list, the gem of the whole free agency signings for Ring of Honor is the villain Marty Scurll. The villain Marty Scurll, we don't know how long is the length of this contract, but we have details on the contract. It was originally reported by PW Insider that Marty Scurll had resigned. In the original report from PW Insider, it also detailed that Marty Scurll would not only be re-signing as a wrestler for Ring of Honor, but he would join the booking team as head booker. Now we have an update on that report from Wrestling Observer Radio and my uncle Dave Meltzer. He reports that Marty Scurll will be one of the members of the ROH booking team. He would be one of the bookers, but he would not be the head booker. Delirious Hunter Johnston, who has been the head booker for Ring of Honor for a couple of years now, he will remain as head booker. If you've seen Tru Heel Heat, you know how I feel about that. I feel like Delirious is the worst booker in professional wrestling. But one would hope Marty Scurll will help him. But yes, the contract does allow Marty. In the original report by PW Insider, it talked about multiple different perks included in Marty Scurll's new contract. These perks include it allows him to work with the National Wrestling Alliance and NWA, following up with the angle of him making his surprise appearance at NWA Into the Fire in December. He can also work with New Japan Pro Wrestling, which he has worked with a number of times for a couple of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament, including last year. He will be able to work with New Japan USA, which will be the US expansion for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and as well as Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, PWG, who he hasn't wrestled with in a couple of years. The contract is for 40 dates a year and is for WWE main roster money and is the best deal that Marty was offered. We don't know the details on who offered him a deal to come with their company or what the details of the deal was, either from WWE or AEW or any other place, but we do know that the Ring of Honor deal was the best deal possible, knowing that he's making WWE main roster money for 40 dates a year, which is much less than the schedule that WWE superstars get, even those in NXT working more than 52 dates now that they have weekly television on every Wednesday at Full Sail, as well as house shows. This contract is very ideal. It saves his body to make more money later down on the road in his career, which is definitely a benefit because Marty Scurll is definitely a young guy. He's only in his early 30s. And the opportunity to work with different promotions is just going to elevate his name and make his name more prominent in the professional wrestling world, which in turn will make Ring of Honor a bigger place for other superstars to go to or other wrestlers. The number one goal for Marty Scurll with his new deal, and especially being now a part of the ROH booking team, is to create and cultivate a working relationship with All Elite Wrestling, AEW. As we know, Marty Scurll is very good friends with both the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt Jackson, as well as Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega. So this is, Ring of Honor putting them in a booking type of position is basically extending the olive branch to AEW and telling them that they have someone that thinks like them, that has the creative mind of them now on the ROH booking team. They're thinking of a wider spectrum and a bigger vision for Ring of Honor, and in that they want to create that relationship with the hottest brand in professional wrestling, which is AEW. AEW has created a whole new space and a whole new atmosphere in the professional wrestling world, and Ring of Honor would be very lucky if AEW wants to partner up with them, because they can transfer some of that buzz over to a place in Ring of Honor that has lost a majority of them and a majority of their momentum throughout 2019. So that's a big one, and I'm hoping that Marty Scurll's goal, he's really focused on it and he knows how he's going to approach it, because that is something that would be huge for us professional wrestling fans. And then finally, Marty Scurll helped book Both shows this past weekend, which I was told by my Uncle Dave Meltzer, as well as a bunch of people on that watch ROH Honor Club, as well as a couple of our Tru Heels from our group page. It was two of the best shows that Ring of Honor has put on in a very long time. It was the Center Stage show in Atlanta, Georgia, as well as Honor Reigns Supreme. Both nights, NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis made an appearance. Nick Aldis made an appearance in the main event of night one at Center Stage, in kind of getting himself involved in attacking Flip Gordon at the end of the Rush versus PCO main event world title match on night one. And then at Honor Reigns Supreme, at the start of the show, Nick Aldis, along with Strictly Business, his stable from NWA Power, which includes Tom Lattimore and Royce Isaacs of Wildcard, as well as the lovely Camille. She don't talk, but she is lovely. They all showed up at Ring of Honor, Honor Reigns Supreme, made an appearance. Nick Aldis said that Marty Scurll walked into his house and made his presence known at NWA Into the Fire. So now Nick Aldis is returning the favor. To me, it sounds like we're going to get a faction war, not too much of a promotional war, but more of a faction war between Villain Enterprises and Strictly Business. Strictly Business is a very new stable, but has been getting a lot of momentum over the last couple of weeks on NWA Power, ever since NWA Into the Fire and Nick Aldis following up with that, with creating the stable. They've been building up momentum and been the real heel force on NWA Power, feuding with everyone's favorite grandpa, Tim Storm. So this is another way for them to get more momentum in a different company now by going after Ring of Honor's premier stable. Villain Enterprises, former ROH six-man tag team champions. They lost the titles this past weekend at the Honor Center Stage show in Atlanta, Georgia to Bandito, Flamita, and Ray Horus, the Luchadors. The Luchadors got the victory with Marty Scurll taking the pinfall loss to lose the ROH six-man tag team titles, and he followed that up on ROH Center Stage, losing in the main event to La Faction Inconable, which was Roosh, Kenny King, and Dragon Lee. So already Marty Scurll, in a booking role, has already shown that he is putting on the hat that all of the elite put on when they became bookers for AEW and started taking loss after loss to build up their roster. Marty Scurll is taking their cue from that and taking losses in his first two shows as head booker for Ring of Honor. So there's a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz now with Ring of Honor due to this. Also, they announced a free show coming up on February 9th in Baltimore, Maryland, called Free Enterprise, and apparently Marty Scurll also helped with the idea for that as well. So already Marty is showing his imprint on the company as far as from a booking role. My hope is that he doesn't take the Cody and Young Bucks route of taking loss after loss after loss, because the one thing I want in 2020, now that he's signed on the dotted line, is for Marty Scurll to become the ROH World Champion. There is nothing else for him to do in Ring of Honor. This man has won the ROH World Television Championship. He's won the ROH six-man tag team champions, the longest reigning for Villain Enterprises. So the one thing he has not been able to accomplish in Ring of Honor is win the big one, win the ROH World Heavyweight Champion. I know he is feuding with NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis right now, so maybe he tries to take a left turn and win the NWA World title before he wins the ROH World title. But before the end of the year, Marty, my plea to you as SP3, the Tru Heel Phenom, please win that ROH World Heavyweight Champion, because PCO is not the answer long term. You are. Listen to me, Marty. I'm helping you with your booking decisions. So moving on, we got to move on to our second count, where we're going to talk about Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling coming off a pretty good show this past weekend, Impact Hard to Kill, which was highlighted by the win by Tessa Blanchard, becoming the first woman to win the Impact World title and the first woman to win a company's world title in the main event of a pay-per-view, defeating Sami Callihan, the Draw. Impact Wrestling also announced at Impact Hard to Kill that their next pay-per-view would be in April of 2020. The date is to be announced, but it will take place in New York City. The first pay-per-view for Impact Wrestling back in New York City since Bound for Glory 2018. They'll be back in New York City, not at the Millwall's Ballroom where they held a couple of Impact tapings as well as Bound for Glory 2018, but they will be going to Terminal 5 on 56th Street between 10th and 11th Avenue. It was the home of Ring of Honor Final Battle 2014, a number of years ago. It is a club that does a lot of concert and music events. Not the most ideal for professional wrestling. I'm just going to get that out the way. You guys that went to these Ring of Honor events from 2014 to about 2015, you can attest for that. Please leave your comments in the comments section below. But Terminal 5 will be the home in April of 2020 for Impact Rebellion. Impact Rebellion was one of the better pay-per-views for Impact Wrestling last year. That was main evented by the Lucha Bros losing the Impact Tag Team Champions to LAX. It also had the very critically acclaimed, in my opinion, one of the best women's matches of 2019 as Tessa Blanchard went one-on-one with Gail Kim. So Impact Rebellion has a high bar to eclipse from 2019, but I think with the New York City crowd behind them, as well as the cards that they've been building for Impact pay-per-views over the last 2 years, they will achieve that bar that was set for Impact Rebellion last year, and Impact Rebellion 2020 in New York City should be a huge one. But speaking of Impact, count number 3, we gotta talk about the Tessa Blanchard fallout controversy. So over the weekend, Tessa Blanchard decided to put out a tweet. Her tweet read, "Hey women in professional wrestling, we can support each other. Good things can happen." Basically, wondering about the women empowerment throughout the wrestling world, in which Sienna, or aka Allison Kay, the NWA World Women's Champion, as well as WWE NXT's own Chelsea Green, basically called her out. Basically calling her out for her checkered past of not being as supportive as she should have to other women in locker rooms. In particular, Allison Kay mentioned how Tessa called a black woman the N-word, and she got smacked upside, she got punched, knocked the fuck out, basically. Knocked the fuck out because of that. The woman in question is La Rosa Negro. This happened in Stardom in Japan in 2017. A number of women also tweeted out in support of this story. These ladies include Rebel, former TNA talent, Impact Wrestling talent Rebel, who was also on that tour. We also had Swole, Big Swole of AEW, Ariel Monroe. She also said that she does know of this story. She was there on that tour. She has talking to both La Rosa as well as Tessa in regards to this, and basically coming to a resolution between the two ladies. La Rosa came out on the Twitter machine and also confirmed this story and that it was true, and that she was the woman that Tessa spit on as well as called the N-word. Tessa Blanchard responded to the tweet from Allison Kay, saying that's never happened and that she won't even talk about it any further because it's so ridiculous of a claim. So we haven't gotten minutes from Tessa. There are no physical evidence, so we can only report what has been tweeted out and the stories that have come out because of this. La Rosa Negro also did an interview with Wrestling Inc., where she said that she is very happy that this information has been brought out, as many of the women that did tweet out and made their thoughts public do know the reasons why she never made this a public issue, being that Tessa Blanchard comes from a very prestigious wrestling family, being the daughter of Tully Blanchard. A lot of wrestlers have come out and said that this woman, La Rosa Negra, basically did not want to come public with this information in basically afraid that she would be blocked or blacklisted throughout the wrestling world due to the name that Tessa Blanchard has, which is sad, but a true statement in professional wrestling. This has gone on for years. This is not anything new at all, and this has always happened throughout professional wrestling. The bigger your name is, sometimes the bigger scumbag you are, and sometimes the people that deal with your basically toxic attitude or toxic personality, basically they feel the back burner of it and they are punished because of your behavior and the fact that they can't even go out into public and address your behavior. They feel like they will be blacklisted and not get the opportunities that they should get because of that. La Rosa Negra is very proud of her career, but she is very happy that this was brought up because it is a topic and discussion that should have been brought up a long time ago. She doesn't expect an apology, but feels like this has all been resolved in her opinion. She is ready to move on from this situation and doesn't want to really dwell on it any further, but it is something that wrestling fans are gonna dwell about. Wrestling fan outrage, in my eyes, is one of the more ridiculous things ever. We don't know for sure if any of the information that has been tweeted out is really happened. Like, this could be a whole bunch of people corroborating a story by La Rosa Negra. This could be people with an ulterior motive against Tessa Blanchard. In my opinion, as a journalist and a person giving you the news, I just like to give you what has been presented to us out in public and all the information that you need, and you guys can come up with an opinion yourself. My opinion is I'm gonna wait and see on this story. I am not for or against Tessa Blanchard. At a Love Story, I went from calling her out for being an awful person to cheering her on as she defeated Sami Callihan. So I'm trying to balance that out and sit on the fence as it comes to this story because I want all the information to come out. I think Tessa Blanchard needs to see all this stuff that has come out about her. And if in her eyes she is not perfect and that she has made mistakes in the past, it is now time to take accountability for that and basically show the world that you are making attempts to change. How you make that change is taking accountability and responsibility for your past actions and apologizing for it, and then being able to say, this is now the past that I've apologized about and I'm ready to move forward. And now you guys that have had all these issues for me and are still remembering my attitude and the way I treated people 3 years ago in Japan, you now can come to Impact Wrestling, you can work with me, and you can now have a new opinion of me because I am now taking the steps to make that change. If she doesn't want to take that stance on it, she can just go about and deny everything. I don't know if it's true or not. Only Tessa Blanchard, La Rosa Negra, and the people that were in that locker room can really tell us if it's true or not. Chris Dickinson actually came out and said that he had to be one of the people that had to separate the fight between La Rosa Negra and Tessa Blanchard. We had Priscilla Kelly also came out and talked about how Tessa went on Twitter and was bad-mouthing her after her whole tampon scandal of 2019. So this is Pandora's box that, in my eyes, the one opinion that I will say is totally on Tessa Blanchard is you shouldn't have put a woman empowerment in professional wrestling tweet if you have such a bad reputation. What the hell were you thinking? Jesus, people, think before you tweet. Don't be Seth Rollins. Think before you tweet. Sheesh. Got people telling suck blood money Saudi Arabia dick. You got Tessa Blanchard asking for woman empowerment when she spit on somebody and called them a nigga. Wrestlers, I need you to think, then tweet. Think, then tweet 2020. SP3. So, that has been the 3 count with SP3 for January 14th, January 15th, 2020. If you enjoyed this video, push the like button. If you guys want to discuss any of the topics that I talked about on this 3 count with SP3, you want to talk about Marty Scurll re-signing in ROH, and what you think about the possibility of a working relationship between Ring of Honor and All Elite Wrestling, we could talk about if you guys in the New York City area are going to come on out to Impact Rebellion at Terminal 5 in April. And we can also talk about the elephant in the room for professional wrestling fans, which is the Tessa Blanchard controversy. So post your comments down below and let's discuss it in the comments section. Push that like button, and of course, stay subscribed to our Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel for all the great content that is sure to be posted up during the week. So it is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3, signing off with the 3 count with SP3 for January 14th, 2020. Signing off until next time.